Welcome to the Dyno Six Pack Dynasty Football Podcast. It feels good to be back here. We just had our first football Sunday of the year, so we actually have some real data to go off of. We're not going to be, having to try and predict the future, projecting out what's going to happen. We actually have a little bit of real action that happened that we can analyze and move forward and get ready for week 2 of our fantasy season here. Before we get started here, head on over to fantasy6pack.net/plans. Make sure you become an all access member there. On top of access to our rankings, we have DFS tools, we got projection advice. You're going to get access to our Discord forum where you can pop in there. You can get dedicated advice directly for your fantasy teams. Pop in there, tag the analyst, and within minutes, we'll have a few people in there helping you out there. What's up, Jamie? How you doing today, man? All right, so with you, what we're gonna be doing today there, I'm gonna be picking 12 players that you are probably gonna hear some storylines around this week, depending on which shows you listen to. And I'm just gonna kind of give my take on if those are like real things that you need to take note of, or if it's a bit of a reaction or an overreaction, you can kind of just chalk to the side and keep on moving as was before here. So yeah, I'm just gonna dive right in here. So let's get started here. We got Greg Dortch in Arizona. Bit of a surprise. He led the team in targets, catches, and receptions. Had 6 catches for 47 yards on 8 targets. I think the big takeaway in this one is that, Marvin Harrison Jr. only saw 3 targets all game long. That's not going to be something that happens every single week. For Greg Dortch, I do think that he's worth an ad if he's still out there on free agency. He had a lot of hype over the summer and then on training camp especially. So he could legitimately be the number 2 receiver on this team. However, that being said, Trey McBride still had 9 targets. He brought in 5 of those for 39 yards. I think better days are ahead for both Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. So as far as is Greg Dortch going to lead the team in targets every week? No, I do think that's a bit of an overreaction. But we'll put this one kind of squarely in the middle, where I do think there is a little bit of fantasy and dynasty relevance here. But it's nothing that you're going to want to go out and blow your entire budget over if he's out there. CK, my man, what's up? How are you guys doing today? All right, let's kick it over to the next one we got here on the list, and that is Jameson Williams, who put on an absolute show last night. 5 catches for 121 yards and a touchdown. Got used in the running game as well and looked explosive there. And just the big play ability was full on display. If that's a real thing, he's kind of developed into a legitimate number 2 option from Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that we might have a real Super Bowl contender in Detroit this year. Jameson Williams, is he here? I think you need to take note of this. I think that we're finally going to get to see the guy that we thought he's going to be coming out of college. You go back, he was very highly regarded as a prospect, got great draft capital, and then just kind of had a weird start to his career, got hurt, then had one of the weirder gambling suspensions that we've seen out of anybody. So it's just been a bit of a weird track to get here. But yeah, as far as Jameson Williams, I think you need to take note. I do think that this is something for real in dynasty leagues, that you can go out and send some offers and maybe make one of those moves that looks like an overpay today, but you look back in 6 months and you're like, man, I kind of fleeced him on that deal right there. Moving over to the next guy here, and this one's tough for me, man. This is Tyjae Spears. I've been a truther of his since he came into the league. I think the narrative you're going to start hearing around him this week is that he's going to be unstartable as long as Tony Pollard's there. And we thought it was going to be a pretty evenly split backfield. As far as it goes on touches, that was not the case. Pollard out-touched Spears 19-8. Pollard looked explosive, man, 85 yards and a touchdown. It was rough this week. However, I think there's a little bit of reason for optimism, so I'm not bailing yet. This is a bit of an overreaction if you're thinking that, he's going to be worthless the rest of the year. As far as snaps went, it was only, I believe, 39-29. So it's a little bit closer there. Just the way it worked out, he got the ball a little bit extra. So I do think that there's going to be weeks where, especially PPR, Tyjae Spears is going to be startable. So yeah, the person that has him in your league right now is freaking out. I think he is a good buy low in Dynasty. So yeah, as far as Tyjae Spears unstartable, that's going to be an overreaction. I'm pretty sure on that one. Moving over to the next guy here. Jaleel McLaughlin, my boy here. I think you're going to start hearing talk about, is he the running back 1 in Denver? And so just a couple things to throw out there. It was a bit of a weird game script. I didn't end up watching this one. It's one I have Martio back down and rewatch. So there's 2 safeties and it sounds like just all sort of chaos before the game kind of sobered up and started going like how a normal football game does here. So a bit of a weird game script. It sounds like something that's going to favor the skill set of a guy like Jaleel McLaughlin. And he led the team in touches. I think he had 15 total touches, caught 5 passes. Downside, did not do a lot with those touches. Like his overall stat line was not very good, but he did like force like the third or fourth most missed tackles. I think he had 7 of them on the day. So the explosiveness and just the elusiveness that we thought he had, it is there. He's getting the work. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Denver down in a lot of games this year. So yeah, I think that as far as it goes for fantasy, that it's going to be pretty close to even, if not Jaleel McLaughlin going to be the guy that you're going to want there out of the Denver backfield most weeks. Let's see here. What's up, Dylan? How you doing, man? Oh, did that officially get confirmed? Sprained PCL. I did not see that news. That must have just broke before I came on, man. That's tough. But hey, we got Cooper Kupp on the list a little bit later, so we'll touch back in on him, what that means there. And then Jamie, what did you got here? Long-term value with Spears. I mean, I think that there's as much long-term value as you can really predict out of like any running back that isn't like Bijan or Bryce, honestly, or, you throw Gibbs in that mix too there. I think we've kind of seen this before with Tyjae, where he was kind of there and he wasn't once he started to fall off. But you've seen that happen with a lot of running backs that, don't have arthritis in their knees as well. Like that's just kind of like a pretty common career arc for a lot of guys. So as far as the arthritis in the knees, it doesn't really change my long-term outlook on him. It's not great, but I mean, if you get 3 more good years out of him, I mean, that's all you can really ask out of a running back, right? Next one here. This one's a fun one too. We got J.K. Dobbins. Is he back? Is he the dynasty piece you want in that backfield? Let's kind of take a look at some of the facts here. The carries were split right down the middle, but J.K. Dobbins did a lot more with those. He was the most productive running back, broke free for 135 yards and a touchdown, only needed 10 carries to do that. I'm rooting for the guy. He has been through the ringer. That being said, I might look to sell high a little bit on this one. So as far as him being like the piece that you want all year long, I think I'm going to kind of say that's a little bit of an overreaction here. The explosiveness was there. The top end speed and conditioning wasn't yet, but I mean, you kind of saw that with Breece Hall when he came back. The top end speed, he kind of died out there on those big runs, but eventually that came back all the way. I do think that there's a chance that comes back, but there's just been so many injuries on that lower body that if I could get like, a piece that I'm feeling a little bit more secure about in Dynasty, like I'm okay making that swap right now and trying to sell high. I think Justin Herbert finished with under 200 passing yards. I hope most weeks that's not the case. So hopefully that ends up going to switch up a little bit there. We got here 4 weeks for Puka. And then how long until he's back to full strength after that, right, man? Oof, that's a tough one. Fantasy is officially back, man. It's crazy. Like last year had a lot of success in leagues. This year, like some of my most owned players are, Jake Ferguson, Josh Downs, Marshawn Lloyd, some of the guys that are already out. I'm sure there's a lot of people that invested heavily in Puka. Luckily, this one I think only affects my Scott Fishbowl team with Puka going down. I didn't get a ton of him just because there's a lot of other receivers I like that were kind of going in that same range as him this year. But man, that's tough. The guys that got Cooper Kupp, man, they're going to be feeling real good here over the next few weeks. Back over here though. So J.K. Dobbins, yeah, we're going to say that one, I'm going to say that's a bit of an overreaction. If there's somebody that thinks that he's going to be like a legit top 12 guy moving forward, I'm looking to make that swap yesterday if I can, basically. And then the last skill position play we will talk about here is Cooper Kupp. And I mean, this gives us a little bit more clarity. Now my note that I had here is, how long is Puka out? That's going to dictate like kind of what his dynasty value is going to be for this year and then moving down, down the next few years here. Let's look what happened. Now, Puka went out early, and then Cooper Kupp responded by getting 21 targets over the game, brought in 14 of those for 110 yards and a score. As long as he's healthy, I think that he's in the mix for the wide receiver 1 overall. We've seen him do it before. We saw as soon as Puka went down, they funneled every single target they could to Cooper Kupp. So as far as, hear people talking about Cooper Kupp is back, he's that dude again. I think you need to take note. I think this is going to be a real thing, especially if we got a full month of him to kind of reestablish himself as the alpha in that offense with Puka Nacua out. Man, I think that those people that bought low this offseason, they're looking pretty good. I have a couple of buddies. One of them, I can remember him trading. He traded like a late first and a couple other pieces, and I thought it was kind of crazy at the time, but he's probably feeling pretty good. He's victory lapping today on that one. So, yeah, I think you need to take note. Cooper Kupp, as long as he is back, he's got a good chance of finishing as a wide receiver 1. Obviously, if you're a rebuilding team, this is a good chance to try and get out on him now while you can still get a little bit of a premium return for him, especially if he comes out and has another game or two like this. But if I'm in the middle or I'm competing, I think that I'm holding on here. I think this is a guy that could help kind of elevate that season back up to be the guy that he used to be. And then, all right, let's kick it over here. The last 6 guys I wanted to talk about here are all going to be quarterbacks here because, the quarterbacks a lot of times are going to dictate how far the offense is going to go in general, and the guys around them. So let's dive right in here to the guy that you see on the cover photo here, and that is Bryce Young. So you're going to start hearing talk this week. Is Bryce Young, is it officially time to start slapping that bust label on him? Okay. I generally preach, I don't want to make any panic moves after just 1 week of games. And like it legitimately looks like Bryce Young is kind of teetering like right on that brink of falling into the bust territory. Finished 13 for, is that right? Did I write that down right? 13 for 30, man. Under 50% for only 161 yards, 2 interceptions. If you were in a deeper super flex league and started him as a QB2, saved his day from being a complete bust by getting like a late rushing touchdown. Man, this was one of the games that I was kind of flipping back and forth in between pretty religiously. So I saw a good chunk of this one, especially I made it a point to watch when the Panthers had the ball because I was curious. I was optimistic on Young with Dave Canales there this year and how it was going to look. And again, one game, I'm not going out. I'm not trying to sell him. I'm going to at least ride it out a few more weeks. But I do think that if we have, 3-4 more games like this at this point, okay, you may be looking at this one may have been a loss, and then you look and you get out, and if you can get even a second round pick next year in a deeper running back class, maybe you make that swap and try and re-roll and get someone that's a little bit better there. But I'm not gonna say officially a bust, but he is officially on bust watch at this point right here. Jamie should be a start in the XFL or Pee Wee League. Man, I want to be more optimistic. I have a few shares just because of the price. Like he was going like 7th, 8th round in Superflex League drafts, and that may have been a bad pick. It's looking like if he doesn't turn it around. They brought in Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen's still there. They went out and got Xavier Legette early in the draft. I mean, you got to start seeing some steps and some improvement over these next few weeks, or it could be looking that way for Bryce Young. I mean, and maybe it's a situation where we're, a guy we'll talk about later, Sam Darnold, maybe he just needs to get out of Carolina. Because, I mean, if you're making a list of, like, from what we get to see on the outside looking in of the worst ran franchises, I mean, Carolina over the last 5 years has got to be in the top 3 worst, right? I mean, it's just every time you hear their owner talk, it's just like, man, this is not who I would want to go to work for every single day. Can't imagine it's a great environment there internally, just with everything else. So, yeah, Bryce Young, I'm officially a little bit worried. I'm panicking a little bit. Like, hopefully I don't have him, or hopefully if you do have him, you're not counting on him as an every week starter. If so, it might be one of those times where, all right, maybe you look for a wide receiver to throw in the super flex spot instead of Bryce Young. Promise we're not going to be completely negative here, but we're going to go over to Daniel Jones next. And I think you're going to start hearing rumors that like Daniel Jones is cooked, and I don't think that's an overreaction. I'm taking note of that. I've been a little bit of a Daniel Jones hater. 2 years ago, and everybody was freaking out about his breakout season where he had like 15 touchdown passes. I was just kind of like, I don't really see it. Seems like, a few of those runs go away, a couple of those touchdowns that he got on the ground go away, and you're looking at a guy that's not even startable in Superflex League, and come out and look at what he did yesterday in home opener, man, he looks just absolutely cooked. Like, if you're looking, just at like the numbers in the box score, like, it looks like he had like a kind of a run-of-the-mill bad day, but when you actually watch the game, it's hard to pick out anybody that played a worse game start to finish than Daniel Jones did there. I said a few times over the offseason, and I think that at some point we see Drew Lock here. I was thinking kind of more end of the season when there's nothing left to play for. Like, all right, well, let's just see what we got here. But I'm moving that over under up to about week 8 now, I think. Like, I mean, if you're on Twitter or any of the social media days, you've all seen the stat going around that since he has signed that $160 million extension, he has more pick sixes than passing touchdowns, 3-2. I mean, it's just rough. And then, you throw in the New York media, the New York fan base. That can be a lot to mentally recover from when you just have been bad for this long. So I'm going to say that this one's something you need to take note of, kind of in that same group as Bryce Young, where I'm not looking to sell right away, but if there's like a glimmer of hope at all and I can get like a return where I feel like I'm getting 75 cents on the dollar, I might take that if I think I can get a pick that I can turn into a future asset, re-roll that, see what we can do there. Same quarterback, different quarterback, same game there. We got Sam Darnold here. So, all right, this is a fun one, man. Like, I was doing the recap on him, and it felt like I've been waiting so long to be able to write this, but like, man, Sam Darnold looked good. He was lights out, man. Fired off 2 touchdown passes, 19 for 24 for 208 yards. I did get intercepted one time. But man, he lit them up on the road there. Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson did their things. I think the biggest impact here is Sam Darnold, dynasty relevant. I'm going to put that one in the middle, because I do think Sam Darnold with Kevin O'Connell as a coach, and then Justin Jefferson to throw it to, and Jordan Addison, depending how long he's out for. I think that's a recipe for a quarterback to put up numbers. I mean, we saw Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins do that, and I think Sam Darnold can be better than both of those guys can. But the biggest dynasty impact I think this is going to have is potentially on JJ McCarthy. And not because I think Sam Darnold's the quarterback of the future or anything like that, but just more so, all right, JJ McCarthy coming in. I think he got drafted. He was still 21 years old. He might still be super, super, super young. If Darnold can be, this, above average, we may not end up seeing JJ till year 3. I mean, I'm pretty sure they got Darnold under contract for 2 years here. JJ's losing his entire rookie season to the knee injury, obviously. So if he can keep this up, I think there's a real chance that, we may not see JJ at all next year, and it may be year 3 where he step in here. So I don't think it really makes too much of a buy low opportunity for JJ now. But if we're hitting week 6 and 7, and the Vikings are sitting 4-2, and Sam Darnold's shown that he's not going to be the quarterback that messes it up, I think at that point, then there could be a little bit of a buy low opportunity for JJ McCarthy. Because he's going to be the guy of the future. I'm a big believer in the talent, but I just, it's a good problem to have for the Vikings that if Darnold can hold him over, they don't got to rush JJ back. They can make sure he's fully healthy. A lot of times you see year 2 is the year that, for any position, you see those guys really come back strong. So maybe it's like a Jordan Love situation where he gets to marinate for a few seasons, and there's a little bit of a buy low opportunity. There was a time there before Jordan Love finally got the job where you could probably got him for, on a rookie draft day, you probably could have got him for an early 3rd round pick. The people don't want to wait. They're not patient. So yeah, I think that's the biggest impact here with Sam Darnold is we may not see JJ for a little bit longer, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I want to clarify that. Weirdly, on the exact opposite spectrum there, we got Kirk Cousins. Whew, the Cousins era may be over sooner than expected in Atlanta. I think you're going to kind of start hearing talk about that, and it's one game, he's coming back from the Achilles tear, and he had to go against TJ Watt, who was just honestly just beating the crap out of him all game long. It seemed like every time I flipped over to see how that game was going, there was a highlight of TJ Watt getting up off the ground, and then you have Kirk Cousins just laying there. Overall stats were not great. 16 for 26, 155 yards, threw a touchdown, got intercepted twice. One thing I didn't really notice during the game, but when I saw the stats after, I was kind of oh, that is true. Is that they didn't go under center at all. I don't think they went under center much at all when he was passing. Everything was either at a pistol or shotgun. Cousins did not look like he was moving awesome. We've seen a lot made about the fact that his Achilles was on his plant leg versus Aaron Rodgers' front leg. And so there's a little bit more maybe cause for concern on Kirk's. And we might have saw that a little bit. I mean, Kirk was never the most mobile guy in general, but he looked like he was getting the crap kicked out of him yesterday. So, you look at his contract. I believe, right? Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on this, but I believe his deal is basically a 3-year deal dressed up, but it's a 1-year deal if they really wanted to get out of it this next season. I think that it wouldn't be financially ruining them like Russ when Denver moved on from Russ or anything like that. So if we get to week 5, 6, and Atlanta's 2-4, 3-3, and Kirk Cousins still putting up numbers like this, do we see Michael Penix sooner? I mean, it's not like it's a JJ situation where he's 21. I mean, Michael Penix is almost old enough to rent a car already. He got a ton of experience. It's not like a 1-season thing like we saw with JJ, where we only got 1 good year of him in college. I think he played six seasons with his injuries. So there's not as much incentive to let him sit for 3 years. Because then by the time you get him out there, he's 26, 27, 28. Does the Kirk Cousins era end a little sooner than expected? I think that's something to take note of, even if he does get this full year here, unless we see big strides back to where he starts to look like his old self. I mean, would you rather get league average play out of a guy that you're paying $30 million a year, or a guy on a rookie contract? I think that's a situation to kind of start to see it there. So Michael Penix is a guy, if I need a quarterback, I may go look out, throw out an offer for him in Dynasty now, see if you can get him for 2 seconds next year or something like that. It could be a situation where maybe he ends up paying off this year down the stretch. I do think that putting a guy with an arm like Michael Penix has, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan, I mean, that could be a pretty juicy offense for fantasy. So I may try and look at and buy into this situation a little sooner. I'd rather overpay today and not look like an underpay tomorrow there for Michael Penix. Let's keep a real strong eye on that one here. This next one here, Deshaun Watson. I'll try not to gloat too much as a Cowboys fan, but man, this was a rough way to start the year if you're Deshaun Watson. Only had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, got sacked 6 different times and knocked on his ass, I think another 10 on top of that. And it's going to be really tough to trust anyone in that Cleveland offense until we get like any semblance of his old self out of Deshaun Watson. He just looks like he's seeing ghosts out there to steal from Sam Darnold. And, a couple of things, like maybe this was just the worst game of the year. We found out, his dad apparently just passed away this past Friday, and a teammate of his as well. So, I mean, mental health can play a big part in, me at my day job. And I don't have, millions of people watching me and sending me death threats on Twitter if I mess up. So is Deshaun Watson cooked? I don't want to say 100% yes. Like I'm kind of willing to give it another game or two just because I think the contract it's not really set up in a way where they can move on from him in the next year. So I think they're gonna really I think you'll see Stefanski gone and the front office gone before Deshaun Watson gone, just with the way they did that contract. I feel like if they're not gonna want to just admit defeat on that one and take the sunken cost. So if you have him as your QB2, like I'm not looking to sell because your offers you're gonna get right now are gonna be crap, but at a certain point, we may have to look in the mirror and be like, yeah, Deshaun Watson, it was a fun 2 years before you became allegedly a really, really bad dude and just everything fell apart. But yeah, man, he might be cooked. Like there's been nothing really like the biggest thing over the 3 years he's been there now is like, oh, it looks like the legs are still there a little bit. Like he had 5 carries for 39 yards and escaped a couple sacks where he extended the play, but extended the play to gain like 2 yards before Overshawn or Micah was chasing him down there. So yeah, I mean, if there's a believer in your league, I wouldn't be opposed to trying to maybe move on from him, but most likely, I mean, everybody saw what just happened. It was, America's game of the week. I looked on the 506 before, and there's only like 2 little spots up in the northeast of the country that weren't watching the Dallas game, the 1 o'clock slot on Fox. So yeah, it's gonna be tough, and unless he turns it around, man, like there's no excuse. We saw Flacco come in with the same exact group of weapons without Jerry Jeudy there too, and he moved the ball just fine. So I don't know, maybe we just have not seen, maybe we just haven't seen the best of him yet. But yeah, it's getting rough there, man. Yeah, buddy. Weirdly, that's like one of the few games I didn't put money on. As much as I can, I try to stay away from Cowboys games just because I don't want to bet with my heart. I'm trying to keep it as much in my brain. But yeah, like looking back on it, that should have been one that people were hammering, especially once the news of Dak's contracts came out that morning. Yeah, it was primed for a good day for the Cowboys, 100% on that one. Then it kind of fits here with Deshaun Watson, but the last guy I want to talk about here today, Baker Mayfield. Have yourself a day, my boy. 24 for 30 for 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And like I said, 4 touchdowns. He spread the ball around all over there. He had 3 different pass catchers. If you include Rashad White, I guess in that pass catching group, they all had over 5 catches and 60 yards. Mike Evans got a touchdown. Godwin got a touchdown. Rashad White shows he's still going to be a threat there. And then Buck Irving, man, that boy looked good out of the backfield too. He had a little bit of boost, had a couple nice runs there. I've been banging the drum for him all year long, or all offseason long, I should say. So, man, this Bucks team, I think that they are not just like NFC South good. I think that they might actually just be a good NFL team right now. We've seen it for over a full season now with Baker. Stepped right back in, picked up where they left off last year. Mike Evans still looks like he's got it. Chris Godwin moving back into the slot. Looked like he's going to have a resurgence. That's a guy that I may regret not buying low more on this past offseason if that continues. But Baker Mayfield, is he that dude? Is he going to finish as a quarterback 1? I think I might take note of that one. I think you kind of take a note in the sense of like Jared Goff level, where like his QB1 ceiling is maybe QB6 overall, but like where you were getting him in drafts, like that is straight profit. Like at this point now, like if I can get him, shoot, I don't know if I'd want to give up a first for him unless there was a situation where like I needed him to start every single week. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm giving up like high seconds. I'm going to give up some younger guys to get him if I need it. I think that you can count on Baker Mayfield to be fantasy relevant for beyond this season, honestly. Like, unless he has like a crazy injury or a fall off, he's had different coordinators now, and he's still just producing in this offense. It's kind of crazy what he has done, man. What we got here? How cool as a cucumber, never panic. That's right. Way too early to panic on a lot of these guys, and unless you're Daniel Jones, and at that point, then I think it's okay to panic because that dude looks horrible. Let's see here. We bought Baker, this rookie draft for 111. The guy drafted Brooks. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those trades where, in retrospect, like 111, that might be a little bit of a value. So, I mean, again, well done on that one. I did not go out and buy the dip on Baker this offseason, and that is a bummer. You should see the still shot of Anzalone hitting Puka. Yeah, man. Anzalone, man, that guy looks like he shot out of a freaking cannon like every single play. He is a lot of fun to watch, man. He's like, if you put like what's the dude in Miami, Van Ginkel, but like turned up to like 1,000% and like maxed out all of his stats, man. Like he's legit, man. But yeah, that is all that I had for you guys today. I don't want to keep you guys here. I know there's going to be every other single podcast in the world that's going to be talking about all these guys this week. Just kind of wanted to hop in here soon and give you guys my quick thoughts on these guys. Again, if you are not already, you guys should head over to fantasy6pack.net /plans, become members over there. It's one of the best bang for your buck you can get in the fantasy industry. I firmly believe that. If you're not already, hit that like and subscribe button so you can get not only my show every single Monday, but all of our other awesome shows. Our Sunday social, I'm on there every morning at 8 a.m. with Mike and Dylan. We're going to go through all your start state questions. We got Detroit, BC, and Keith that come on right after us to help you guys win some money for DFS. So yeah, hit that like and subscribe button. And yeah, I'll see you guys all next week.